This is part 3 of my 4-part series where I talk about how they could have ensured that he won. In part 1, we learned about how your ballot travels from the moment you cast your vote all the way through election night reporting. And in part 2, we talked about where adjustments could have been made to ensure that he won. This is part 3, which is just a continuation of part 2, where we focus really on the election night reporting companies because this is a big step. And this part can get a little complicated, so it's really important that you go back and watch part 1 and then part 2 so that you can understand part 3 and 4. So what is an E&R company? Election night reporting companies are just private organizations that collect data from all 50 states and then push it out to websites, news stations, or live feeds, all in real time. In this video, we're not going to talk about the state level reporting. We are going to focus on the national E&R companies. There are 3 of them: AP Elections, Edison Research, and Decision Desk HQ. Decision Desk HQ's top clients include CNN, ABC, and NBC. These 3 companies feed pretty much any live coverage of election night reporting. So anything you see on the news where they're calling states and they're giving you the real-time results of the election. These companies are not government agencies. They are private organizations. And that's important to keep in mind. And their job is pretty simple. Watch all 50 states, pull in the results from the EMS software, collect it all and standardize it into one feed, and then push that data out to their clients. You know, like news networks or private clients, like social media influencers, and even some apps. There's one really important thing that you need to know about the E&R companies, and that is that they maintain their own private databases. So when I say that they pull results from all 50 states and then organize it in their own feed, I am talking about their specific database. They also run internal monitoring that helps them call the races. They do not handle any ballots. And the way that they do this is through the EMS software that the vendor owns. And this is the part that we discussed in part 2. The key thing to note is that they're pulling this data from the system of record. So their totals should match the state totals. If they don't, there's something fishy there. In order to gather all this information, they need access to these files, to this data. So they are usually given permission to only pull information from the system. They are not supposed to be able to write to it at all, essentially meaning there shouldn't be two-way conversations. Another important thing to know about this part of the process is that when they pull information from those databases, they are able to use unsecured private networks. Every election night reporting company has their own process for how many times they pull information from these sources. Decision Desk HQ is the fastest. They are constantly pulling information from these databases and pushing them to their clients every couple seconds. These companies also help call the races. When I say call a race, it just means like who's projected to win. And they only call it when the remaining ballots aren't going to change the outcome either way. Keep in mind, these are the unofficial results. Because there are 3 E&R companies, you might see different totals at the same point in time between different news stations. And you'll see a couple different numbers on these nights. You will see like the total number of votes per candidate and the percentage of the state that has been reported. So for example, you may see at 7:30 at night that 17% of that state is reporting. And then you might see later that 57% of that state is reporting. And the total number that you see here should be going up as more counties are totaled. You should never see it going down because that would mean votes are being removed. So could adjustments be made here? Hypothetically, this would be the place that makes the most sense because it has the least amount of regulatory eyes. And that's because these are 2 private companies. The EMS database software vendor like ES&S or Dominion, and then the E&R company like AP Elections or Decision Desk HQ. And just to be super clear here, I am not accusing any of these companies of doing anything. This is just hypothetical. But the key thing is these are private companies. They are not part of the government and they are not subject to any governmental testing. That means nobody from the government is checking before the election or after the election automatically that nothing was tampered with here, because technically it shouldn't be able to be. But also, our Constitution should have checks and balances in place to stop everything that's happening, but it is not. So we know how things are supposed to run and then what has actually happened this last year. So these companies operate under no supervision. They are not regulated, they are not monitored by the EAC or provided any guidelines from the EAC. They are not certified or audited. They are not required to conduct any pre-election testing, nor do they have standardized reporting requirements. Legally, they are treated just like the media. And the only way they would catch any funny business is through a forensic audit, which is not automatically triggered. But what if someone was able to not only read and pull data from the EMS software, what if they were also able to push data to the EMS software? What kind of things might we see? And you're just going to have to wait till part 4, where I will discuss all of the things that have been uncovered that may support this theory.